My friend introduced me to a guy. Now I'm losing my favorite coffee shop.
Well, that just sucks. Not again.
I live alone in a city, and I've had some trouble making friends. I go to the same cafe every day, and the owners have taken on almost a parental role since my family is so far away. I'm close with them, and I trust them, and they care about my well-being. So when one of the owners, Sarah, gave me the number of another regular, Derek, I trusted her judgment. By the way, this comes from user Wrong Competition, and if you want to submit your own stories, submit them to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I know Derek a little bit from spending time in the cafe. It's a small place, and we both sit at the counter so we can chat with the owners. Usually we sit next to each other. We've chatted about movies, he once helped me with my language homework, and he's generally in the cafe hanging out most afternoons. Sometimes reading, sometimes working on his computer. He's also friends with the owners of the cafe and has always seemed like a nice person, so I certainly wasn't against getting to know him better. When Sarah gave me his number yesterday, she was selling him pretty hard. I asked her about the book she was reading, and she said Derek lent it to me. And when I asked about a card game, she said Derek taught it to me. So I said, okay, I get it. I'll text him. I texted Derek after I left the cafe, and I thought it was maybe a bad idea because if things went south, it would be uncomfortable to see him in the cafe almost every day. But it seemed like Derek had already set things in motion by asking Sarah to slip me his phone number in the first place. Derek told me that he could use more friends in the neighborhood and that he'd like to get to know me outside of the cafe, so we went for a few adult sodas. So, last night I learned that Derek is 31. Yay! Unemployed. Boo. And he sees passed away people. He's a full-on weirdo, which is fine. I still had fun hanging out with him, and I didn't feel unsafe or threatened until I got home. In the 10 minutes it took for me to get into my apartment and get ready for bed, Derek sent me about 20 messages about how he wanted to kiss me and asking if he could come upstairs. I told him, no. Thank you for a fun evening. Good night, and went to bed. My phone died overnight, and when I woke up, I plugged it in. He had sent me more messages confronting me about blocking his number, which I didn't do. These messages were over the top and intense, and honestly, they worry me a bit. It's obvious to me that I need to back away from this person, but right now, I have no idea how to do this gracefully. I wouldn't mind a friendship, but he's made it clear that he's interested in a romantic relationship. I just want to be able to get coffee and enjoy myself without any awkwardness. What can I do? What should I say to Derek? And should I tell Sarah that this guy freaked me out? We have a small update. Thank you for your advice. I just went to have some coffee and talk with Sarah. I didn't tell her everything, but I told her I found Derek a little strange, and she asked me what happened, and I told her what he said about seeing ghosts. I mentioned in one of my comments that Sarah shares some of Derek's interest in spirituality and mindfulness. We talked a little more about this. She's a very open-minded person. Sarah knows Derek believes he sees and hears ghosts and said she wasn't sure if it was true, but she didn't believe he was deranged. I probably misunderstood some of what he was telling me about seeing passed away people because we weren't speaking English, okay? She asked me overall how I felt the date went, and I told her that he was getting pretty intense. He's too old for me, and I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. She told me that she thinks Derek is a good boy, but agreed that he can be a little over the top, and told me to let her know if he did anything else that made me uncomfortable. Do we tell Sarah?
I think, yeah. What's Sarah's relation to Derek again?
He just goes to the cafe as well. Like, they're friends.
Oh.
Like, they're friends, and he's like a regular.
Yeah, I feel like you could, like, how careful OP is being around Sarah, it makes it feel like Sarah's, like, related to him, like a mom or something, or
It's
like an
very,
aunt.
It's very possible that Sarah's known Derek longer than OP because he's been going there longer. He's a little bit older.
Yeah, okay.
And they share the same interest,
Sure.
and maybe they have a tighter connection than OP and Sarah do, and she
Yeah,
doesn't want
maybe.
to. She doesn't want to ruin that relationship. Very possible.
Yeah, I guess so. Or maybe she's worried that, like, she won't be believed, I guess, if, like, they know Derek more or something. But yeah, I think it's totally fine to tell Sarah, like, yeah, actually, there were more things that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, the fact that Sarah's asking OP, did you do anything else that made you uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Like,
And
is
she's
this
still
more?
not saying
Is
it.
this common?
Yeah, it's
So,
like-
and we have some comments. Comment number 1: screenshot the text. Tell Sarah about your date and your reservations about his mental well-being, and show her the screenshots. She is the owner. She has the right to refuse service if she feels someone is a threat to other customers. You also say they have a parental role to you. Someone in that role would likely want to protect you. Don't blame her for setting you up. It doesn't sound like you took much convincing, so his facade of normalcy must be pretty good. And don't demand she ban him from the store, but explain that you aren't comfortable around him and let her take the lead and see what she does. Good comment. As for Derek, block him. Don't try to be his friend after he has already pestered you to this extent. OP says, I'll let her know what happened. I feel guilty somehow, like it's my fault for letting this happen. I'm sure Sarah thought we'd been a good pair. She wouldn't have known about the huge age difference, and she never would have sent me on a date with a guy that she didn't think was a good person. and we have an update. So, I'd been meaning to post an update about this for a while, but never got around to it. And then last night, something really big happened, and I think it's really important that you guys keep in mind that this is all happening in my second language. Nobody involved in this story speaks English, except Sarah a little bit. So, where we left off with my last post, I had a conversation with Sarah about Derek that made me feel better. Derek later reached out to me, apologized, said he was a little wasted too much on an empty stomach, and that he was embarrassed about his actions. I'm sorry, you guys, but I agreed to hang out with him again, this time over coffee. Things were fine, and he further integrated me into the neighborhood by introducing me to the people he knows and inviting me to join other neighbors for drinks and such. He opened up to me about a traumatic event that happened to him in the past and about his mental illness. He brought me around his family and his nieces, who were all lovely. Other people seemed to adore him. I really liked all of this, and we quickly fell into a romantic relationship.
What?
I guess the second chance was well worth it. I guess. Derek seemed to be almost flaunting the relationship around the neighborhood. I had one other conversation with Sarah where she asked me some questions about how I felt about him. I explained that I liked him but felt confused and that he was moving quickly. She told me, in English, so I know she was serious. Take your time. Soon after this, Derek broke things off with me very suddenly and rather forcefully. I found his sudden change of heart very confusing and upsetting. A week after he broke up with me, I asked him to come over to my apartment to talk about what happened, and we agreed to remain friends, since we'd have to see each other around the neighborhood now. I spoke all about this with Sarah, who told me that she didn't know anything about it and said that she was sorry. About a week after I agreed to remain friends with Derek, he invited me out for a drink, gave me a necklace, and we got a little bit intimate. But he clearly told me, do not talk about me at the bar, which I found strange. What is going on? What is this story? Where did this story was making sense, and now I'm confused.
I feel like maybe he's got someone else suddenly, and now he's cheating with OP. Perhaps.
Very possible, but this is again, you show. I think why OP was so open to it because you're like, oh wow, he's actually a popular guy. And he's the talk of the town. Sure. People know him, and I like that. Yeah. And I yearn for just to make this more my home, which makes sense. Why rush into the relationship just like that? It kind of jumped there.
Yeah. It feels weird.
Something's not adding up.
Feels weird.
This is getting longer than I wanted it to be, so I'm going to jump to last night. Sarah and the other woman who owns the cafe are a couple. They've been together for 10 years, and they invited me to spend Christmas Eve with them since they knew I would be alone. I brought up Derek, of course, and asked them why they thought that he wouldn't want me to talk about him in the cafe. Sylvia, which I'm assuming is Sarah's partner, Sylvia played dumb until we had some privacy, and then she revealed to me that she and Derek had a relationship while he was seeing me. At first, he had lied to her and said that we were strictly platonic, but that lie quickly fell apart. Sarah said that she wanted to talk to me about it, but never had the opportunity because we were always in the cafe. She apologized that some days she had acted cold towards me, which I hadn't noticed, and she said that after a few weeks, she had insisted that Derek choose either her or me. Apparently, he chose her. Soon after that, she ended things with him completely. The next evening, he invited me out for a drink to try and rekindle things. By the way, you can rekindle things and rekindle with us with full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcast app and search OK Storytime, where we have a plethora of amazing stories and some crazy stories and some weird stories just like this one. There's a little bit more to this story, but Angie, what the heck is going on here?
I don't have a lot of hope for it.
I don't.
But I hope that OP, I want OP to not want to be friends with this person.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that she's going to forgive because
she has no other support system.
Yeah, and it seems like she did that when they started dating. I'm glad that Derek got dumped by Sylvia because, he doesn't deserve either of these people.
It does seem like OP is a person who easily forgives because, again, one night she's like, he was really weird and all that stuff. And then the next time you're like, I'm into him. Yeah,
she doesn't seem that confrontational.
Yeah.
Hard for conversation, hard for standing up for herself probably, but this is a great time to practice that.
Yeah. Don't get back together with Derek. Very
Please.
Obvious.
Yeah.
What Sarah did was kind of messed up. She's like, I didn't have the opportunity to tell you, especially if you're going to the cafe, I don't know, every day.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me you didn't have an opportunity to 5 seconds or a minute. Like, hey, Derek's cheating on you.
Exactly.
With Sylvia or whoever.
Yeah.
Very questionable.
Hey.
But let's get to the end of the story. So, Sarah apologized to me. She said she felt stupid and like a bad person, but that she had been feeling old and unattractive lately. She is 50. I told her that I wasn't upset with her at all, just shocked, and that I was sorry I had been so oblivious to the real situation. So I definitely didn't see that coming. I'm not going to confront Derek about this. I'm just going to let it go and move on. Sorry for acting like an idiot. I wish I could say I've learned something, but I probably haven't. Merry Christmas, everybody. And we have comments. Comment number 1. Wait, wasn't Sarah the one who set you guys up on a date? While she was, I don't know, let's omit that one. Why would she do that? These people sound strange, OP. If you love the coffee shop that much, by all means, but I wouldn't be attending their family Christmases and being all buddy-buddy. OP. Derek wasn't playing both of them. Sarah and Derek were playing OP. What? I am so confused!
I feel like we always get the most confusing stories when we're in here.
Why?
I don't get it.
That made no sense! Who's was it supposed to be Sarah? Because it said Sylvia.
Maybe. Because, yeah, we didn't hear about Sarah. Sarah and Derek were playing OP.
I'm so confused.
Maybe
that was such a god-awful story.
Yeah, maybe OP's saying that, meaning like they never like told her. They were just kind of like, hey, like we're just gonna be dating, but like Derek has to choose. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Do you have another update, or is that the end?
That's the end.
That's the end of the whole story?
That's the end of the whole story, so it makes 0 sense.
My boyfriend lied about his life for 3 years now.
Double it and make it 6 years.
I'll try to make this as short as possible, but it's going to be long as heck because there is so much lying going on. My boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years, living together for 2. We have a pretty good relationship, obviously with ups and downs, but we make it work and are happy. By the way, this comes from Intelligent Ad 3412, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. A little background on me and my boyfriend for context. I come from a single parent home. My father was absent. My father was/is by no means perfect, but she did her best with what she had. We were poor. Life was never easy for us, but we had each other. Since I was pretty young, I wanted to pay her back someday. I've worked incredibly hard to be able to do so. I help her financially as much as I can and regularly pay her bills and send her cash. I'm also her only living child now, as my brother passed away 5 years ago, which basically left me to help her. I don't care. I love my mother, and the right thing to do is to help her when she needs it. But it is stressful. This is relevant because my boyfriend described coming from a somewhat similar past, and it is something that we have bonded over. Having the mutual experiences seemed to bring us closer. He told me that he also helped his parents financially and we would often vent to each other about the stress it brings. I'm not one to confide in many people, so having someone who I felt like actually understood me was meaningful to me. So here's where the lies come in, and I need someone to either tell me I'm not crazy and this is effed up, or that I am crazy and it isn't a huge deal. I'm fine with either. When we met, my boyfriend lived in a condo in a pretty swanky part of the city. I live in the U.S. Northeast. He told me that he owned that apartment and condo. I found this to be interesting/odd because he was 28 at the time, and I know this property is upwards of $650,000 on the low end, and he was in an entry-level job for only like 2 years, so the numbers just didn't really add up. Whatever, maybe he's good at saving. But then, since living together, I never once saw a piece of mail for a mortgage payment, electric bill, taxes, nothing. Not for 2 whole years. Very odd. Also, when we started living together, he didn't have his room rented out in the former apartment yet, so he was still responsible for the portion of the rent. He would send a Venmo payment to his mother on the first of every month for his portion. I don't own property, but I can't think of a scenario where I would Venmo my mom to pay the mortgage on a property I supposedly own. Getting more odd. He would then go to his parents' house for an afternoon and come back really upset. Usually, when I would ask why, it was because they were having financial problems and he needed to help them out. I totally understood this and supported him. He literally has cried on my shoulder about this many times. He tried to start a company years back and ended up getting into debt somehow. He told me that this debt was $17,000 and that he paid it off. I'm confused because I met him only 2 to 3 years ago after the supposed debt occurred and the company dissolved, and it was already paid off. He told me when he moved back home after the business failed, he was $17,000 in debt and living at his parents' house working at a minimum wage job. How someone with a minimum wage job pays off that much debt in 3 years? I'll never know. We got into a fight a few weeks ago and I finally had enough and confronted him about these things. Long story short, he doesn't help his parents. They actually pay his phone bill, and this was all a lie. He doesn't own that apartment. He didn't pay off that debt from his company. He initially told me that his parents helped pay it off, and then like 3 minutes later, he came clean and said that that his business partner paid it off, so I have literally no idea what the truth is here. And if anything, in my eyes, his parents are the ones who are financially supporting him. So now I'm dating a 31-year-old man who doesn't pay his own phone bill, was lying to me and or completely fabricating aspects of his life for 3 years, and then when confronted about it, continued to make up lies and then come clean about it 5 minutes later. I'm obviously concerned that he could lie for this long about fundamentally important things like our values and so on. I sincerely thought that I would marry this man. He seemed to understand me like no one else and to be a truly caring and genuine person. Now I'm having a hard time rationalizing actually planning a life around someone who would not only lie about their background and family, etc., but also financial aspects. Aside from that, I now can't tell what is the truth and what is a lie. I've also noticed other things that he has lied about, called him out on it, and he has denied it outright to my face. I see this as a form of gaslighting, as I know I'm not wrong, but he is trying to convince me otherwise. Am I overreacting? Is this a white lie that went haywire, or is this actually a series of complete and utter BS used to manipulate me? And also, is it insane for me to actually consider a life with this man? Any advice is appreciated. There are some comments, but oh boy.
Oh, wow.
I want to hear yours, Keon.
This guy's a pathological liar.
Yeah.
Why did you even say these are little white lies?
No.
He's been lying to you for 3 years straight about everything.
Yeah.
Also, you haven't met his family.
Yeah.
That's
true.
You haven't
3 years in?
3 years in, and you haven't met his family, who would have been like, oh, we're supporting him, like, and I would have brought up like, oh, so he owns the complex, right? And like,
yeah, right.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, he says you guys, like, he's helping you guys out. Like, how's that going? No.
Yeah, that would expose everything. Probably why he didn't want them to meet then.
Yeah. Whoa, you are okay. First thing first, OP, you are not overreacting. This is a lot. You think you were dating somebody, and you're dating a complete different person who's lied to you consistently. You don't even know you said it yourself. You don't even know what's real and what's not real.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this is so insane. You're, again, definitely not in the wrong. This is complete and utter BS used to manipulate you because, if all this stuff isn't true, then he was just agreeing with you for all of this. Like, you don't know this man. You don't know him anymore. Is clearly everything is a lie. So you don't know him. That means you don't know who you want to marry in this situation anyway.
Yeah, the idea of him is what you want to marry, but that's not him.
Not him anymore.
At least that's what we know.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like downplay anything, but I guarantee you because he related his traumatic past with your traumatic past. I don't want to downplay that, but he possibly lied about that to like share that connection with you and be like, oh, like he gets it. He gets me.
Yeah, like this is how I'm gonna get
him.
her.
We get each other.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say he's lying about that, but he could be potentially lying about that too.
I mean, it seems like he is because they pay for like his phone bill and stuff.
This is ridiculous.
I think it's definitely safe to say that he is lying about that. So, oh my gosh. Yeah. We do have some comments. Comment number 1 says, this isn't a white lie. This is a huge web of lies on which he's built the foundations of your relationship. I would forever be wondering what else he's lied about. Get out. OP says, this is the issue for me. It honestly wouldn't be as big of a deal if this wasn't like a huge part of our relationship. Bonding and confiding in one another, I mean. I come from a harsh background and I had a difficult life growing up, and it was very special to me to have someone who I thought could at least mildly understand. I've also told him so many painful and personal things while he was lying to me nonstop, apparently. Okay, so that seems like it's a big part of your relationship.
So I'm saying what I exactly said. Like your traumatic past is your traumatic past, but he tried to relate to that, and you don't even know if that's real. That's insane.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure there's more to your relationship. This isn't the only thing, but if this is something that you connected about and something that you valued him for, then that's one problem. But again, the fact that he lied to you about all of that is just like, there's no reason for him to do that. But we do have an update. My previous post got more attention than expected, so I figured I would update. Well, it's over. As many of you suggested, I couldn't possibly build my life around someone who lied so pathologically. Good. I initially agreed to work on the relationship, provided that my ex get therapy to work through why he felt so compelled to lie about so many aspects of his life. I also requested that he come clean to his parents, my parents, and anyone else he lied to or embellished the truth to. He agreed to this and seems genuinely interested in working on things and himself. I really wanted it to work out and was willing to accept that maybe he was just wildly insecure or had some attachment issues or something that caused him to act this way. I waited 4 months for the therapy and confessions to happen, and they never did. Not surprisingly. For those of you who were confused about how I didn't know that he did not own this apartment for so long, or thought that I had never met his parents, I had met them many, many times. But yeah, to be honest, they are pretty cold people who I never really connected with that much, and was definitely not comfortable enough to be like, hey, is your son a pathological liar, or is all of this true? On top of that, he also told a lot of these lies to his parents as well, so they wouldn't have been keen to what I was talking about anyway. I got to the point where basically anything that came out of his mouth seemed like a lie, or at least a half-truth to me. Also, I lost respect for someone who could lie so easily and then not even feel guilty enough or any remorse to come clean about it. I'm pretty honest, almost to a fault. So the cognitive dissonance there that occurred from being with someone who had basically opposite values from me was tough. And you know what's never tough? Going to iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is, and searching OK Storytime, and you're gonna find full episodes with more stories just like this one. There is a little bit more to this story, but good. I am glad they are broken up.
You did it. You did the easiest thing.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
Yeah.
We didn't have to tell you. You already knew.
You already knew.
Good job, girl.
I'm sure there were a lot of other things that he was hiding, but I don't even care. I've been single and living alone for a week, and to be frank, I'm killing it. I am now responsible for 100% of my rent, and I barely have any savings left, but I still feel like a giant weight has lifted off my shoulders. Crazy how that works. I want to thank all the people who gave me the hard truth straight up and encouraged me to leave. Even though it was all coming from internet strangers, it still helps to hear people tell you that you deserve more than what you're getting. I'm so happy, and I must be giving off a much better vibe because I've already had 2 dates and been asked for my number a handful of times. I'm a server at a restaurant, lol. I sound like a wienery a-hole, but God, does it feel good to remember that you're not as worthless as someone made you feel. Thanks, Reddit, and if any of you are in a relationship with someone who is like this, get the F out and don't look back.
Good for OP.
Good
yes.
for you, dude.
A positive ending there.
Yeah.
You got out of it. That's crazy. You get, sure, it's been like a week, but imagine like a month ago, you're like, I'm going to marry this guy.
Yeah.
I want to marry this guy.
Yeah.
That's wild. My girlfriend wants to take a stressful job, and I'm against it.
I have to save you from the stress, girlfriend.
We have been together for 7 years now. She's 28 female and has been thinking about taking a stressful job, which will leave her with no time to do anything. We did that before when we were right out of college and we didn't have any money at all. It was hard. I, 27 male, was able to handle the soul-destroying nature of 60 plus hours a week a bit better than her. By the way, this comes from user Revolutionary Exam 45. And if you want to submit your own stories, submit them to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. She was a mess. Ooh. She leaned a lot on me emotionally to get through it. She was close to burnout. She was starting to become unhealthy. She also had a habit on lashing out on me. She always apologized, but I don't like being yelled at. Being yelled at F's me up, and those 3 years were the only time we got into yelling matches. It was without a doubt the worst years of my life. We had to move for my job, and she was able to get a much less stressful job and higher pay job. She became much more happier. I would hope so. A lot less annoyed, and we were able to patch our relationship and grew closer. I told her that if she took that job, I would have to think about where this relationship is going if I can't handle the emotional turmoil that comes with it. I realized that it was not the right thing to do, and I'm a fool for letting my fears and panic take over, make a manipulative attempt to force her to not take the job. I am planning to apologize for this. I thought we had paid our dues and could try to climb the ladder slowly, try to build our life slowly, get married and start a family. We have talked about this, and she says she wants all the same things, but I don't know anymore. She wants to take a job which has really great pay and would have set us up for great things. We are really comfortable right now, and even if she takes another less stressful job, it would not be a huge difference. She is promising me that she will handle it better this time. My emotional reaction is not to trust her on this. I know that is unfair, but she almost said the exact same words when we were in the bad patch after fights. But the thing is, if she doesn't, I don't think I will have the courage to leave her when she is struggling. I won't be able to deal with the guilt. I don't know why she's doing this. We are doing well. I know that she isn't a greedy or materialistic person. She loves her current workplace and culture. She has a scope for promotions. She loves her work. It seems really odd that she wants to switch all of a sudden, especially to something which would be soul destroying. When I asked her about it, she said it is the money, and I asked her if it is worth the money. She just shrugged and changed the topic. Someone pointed out that it could be something that may have happened to her at her current workplace. I really fear I have F things up due to setting an ultimatum and hurt her feelings a lot. I feel like a crappy boyfriend. She was willing to move for me even when she was reluctant to do it. She has pointed out that I am placing my career above hers and that I didn't get to dictate what she did with her career. And we have comments. Yeah, again, it's the thing of how you went about that conversation. And this is about me, not you. It's like, what about, how is this going to work for us, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And last time, again, you did have a brief conversation about it, but giving her the ultimatum, it just doesn't work, man.
Yeah, ultimatums are never a good idea. But I feel like if your initial emotional reaction is to not trust her, then trust that. Because also too, I mean, with trust, like you can, accept that she's saying that and believe her with that and say like, okay, cool. I'm glad you think it'll be different.
Yeah.
But keep an eye out because you don't know if it actually will be until it's happening.
Yeah, and the worst part is, and I know it's probably just a traumatic thing that happened when you guys were going through high stress. And again, you guys have grown up and you guys have matured. You did this right after college, and that was probably high strung. What is it, 7 years later or 6 years later, what have you? Things can change over time. She may be better with high stress. You don't know that until she does it. And then you don't know until you try.
Exactly.
And it's kind of crappy on OP, not trying to call you out, but it seemed like you had no support for her. There was no like positivity, like, yes, like, oh my God, you have another job. Like, what about your workplace? But like, that's so great. Like, I'm so excited for you. Or like, that's cool. Your first initial thought was, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
That's like,
balance
I don't like
it
that.
out a little bit.
Yeah. At least show some, support.
Yeah.
You've been together for 7 years. You would think just a little bit of support. We have some comments. Comment number 1. She is right that you don't get to make her professional decisions, etc. for her. However, if she is going to take this job and not have a repeat of the past, again, lashing out, you will both need an action plan. Whether we like it or not, our jobs, income, and other practical aspects of life can have an impact on our partners. Although we shouldn't be making our personal decisions just for our partner, being in a healthy relationship sometimes demands compromise and at least consideration of how our choices will affect our significant other. In regards to an action plan, how is she going to deal with the stress? It's no good saying you'll just deal with it. You need to have an idea of how. Will she agree to start seeing a professional, a therapist, if the stress becomes too much? Will she learn new healthy coping mechanisms to employ when things become too much? Will you both work on developing a trigger to de-escalate tension if it becomes too much? You will also need to set appropriate boundaries with her. Again, if she needs to vent about work or get snappy due to stress, but it gets excessive to the point it is affecting your mental well-being, you may need to set a firm boundary. Couples therapy can help with this if you are unsure of how to set healthy boundaries with each other. Again, you can agree in advance that if she feels she is lashing out and the situation is escalating into a row, you can remove yourself from the situation temporarily to give you both time to calm down. Fighting often causes a psychological reaction in us, similar to fight or flight, that makes it very hard to think clearly or be generous and understanding to the other person. If you agree to remove yourself temporarily from instances where this occurs, it will allow both time to calm down and come back to each other to discuss the issue with more kindness. This is just one example of a boundary that may be worth discussing. There's nothing wrong with rescinding your ultimatum if you regret it and having an open discussion with her about how you feel. You can tell her that you regret giving an ultimatum, but you made it because you are scared of a repeat of past behaviors. You may not understand her reasons for wanting this job, but that doesn't matter. It's down to her at the end of the day. But that doesn't mean that you should just accept any unfair treatment that may arise as a result. You need to work together on this and figure out how you are going to combat it moving forward. Wow, that commenter is a therapist.
Literally, that was a great comment.
That was no flaws. That was 110%. I'm giving you an A++.
Yeah.
Good job.
Absolutely.
I'm giving you, that was really good. Wow.
That was like perfect.
That was incredible. Yeah, no.
Because that changed my mind a bit because I think at first I was a little more on OP side of like, she shouldn't take the job, whatever. I mean, I guess I didn't really know if she should or not, but I think if you're right. If it's something that should be celebrated, it's not something that you should decide. And if the problem is the stress causing problems, then you can't just not take the job because it's going to be stressful, because stressful things are going to come up in your life in general.
Yeah, you just can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
Because guess what? That's going to build up more stress.
Yeah.
And more resentment. So,
yeah, exactly.
Again, what that commenter said was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Work a game plan out, because she says one thing, you say one thing, and those are just words. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
So you won't, again, back to my point earlier, you won't know until you get there.
Right.
And if it gets there, then how do you work from that?
Yeah. And
Great.
what happens when you start a family, or you have, extended family problems where there's like health or something like that causes stress anyway, and you can't just avoid that stuff. So you got to figure out how to deal with stress first.
Yeah, 100%. Again, you guys are a couple, but you guys are also your own separate beings.
Yeah.
You guys want to build each other up, not take each other down.
Exactly.
OP. This post really helped calm me down. I don't think she'll be up for therapy or counseling, and I don't think bringing it up right now will be helpful. We have talked about therapy before, and she was very reluctant about it, but I do think we can talk about it and make a plan of some kind which doesn't involve therapy and reduce her stress and allows us to have a healthier relationship, okay? I feel a bit frustrated not understanding why she is doing this. When we had to move for my work, I spent a lot of time explaining why I wanted to do it, trying to make a sense of how our relationship would look, how it looked like, and spending a lot of time mapping out the impact it will have on her career. I know she isn't required to do it, but it kinda is hurting me. And we have an update. I, 27 male, would like to thank everyone who took the time to give me valuable advice. It helped me realize I was going about it the wrong way and possibly ruined a relationship of 7 years. Yesterday, we sat down and had a proper conversation. I apologized to her for lashing out with an ultimatum. I explained how scared I was of things sliding back. She, 28 female, was able to understand it, and she also pointed out how hurtful me setting down an ultimatum was. I talked about mapping out a plan so that we don't slide into the mess we had created. I think me being open to the idea of her working allowed her to be vulnerable and reveal why she wanted to chase money. Okay, she wants to put down roots in the city and buy a house here. She grew up in a pretty unstable circumstance and moved around a lot. She's adamant that we have our own house before we get married and have kids, and the home market here is booming. She also thought that it was a bit embarrassing to be so fixated on owning a house and wanted to take the whole burden on herself. Oh, I really love this woman. I know that her actions in the past have not been great, but even after that, I trust her to be kind. By the way, I trust you to join episodes with stories just like this one. Just go to Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, any of your favorite podcast app, and look up OK Storytime.
Do it.
There's a little bit left to this story, but Angie, this is looking pretty great.
I think so too. We've got communication. We're working through things. We have planning out. We have reasons. This is great. Yeah, we're possibly saving a 7-year relationship right here. This is great.
And you know how you're saving it? Just by talking to each other. Not
at
by
that.
pointing the finger, but just like, hey, why are we doing this? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a building block. You're building,
Exactly.
You want to build each other up.
Your relationship.
I love it.
Love it.
Let's finish this story. I think this perspective is not something I could have ever thought of. I come from a more privileged background, and even though my parents raised us to be independent, but we always knew that if things got ugly, we had a safety net. She never had that, and I understand her need to create one. After we stopped crying and talking, we went through the budget and talked about areas where we could cut expenses. She really doesn't want to change jobs, so we are planning on her asking for a raise, and I think I will start looking for a new job. I am pretty indifferent about my workplace, and I don't mind jumping ship to increase my salary. She is happy and would have disliked to move to another company. I have to really thank the people here for helping us talk it out. I'm planning on bringing up counseling on a later date. We have a lingering issue on communication that we need to sort out.
Okay.
Great. Wow. Amazing.
Even if the communication isn't perfect, at least you know that, and you know that you can communicate to fix that.
And again, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly.
Things won't get fixed in a day. It takes time. It takes trust, and it takes effort. And that's all you need to do, and it needs to be positive. You don't want it to be negative, because if you put into those thoughts, negative thoughts, it's going to have negative output. So a negative outcome. You don't want that.
True.
So
exactly. So it looks like it's ending pretty well.
Yeah. Good on you guys.